One of the most popular videos on the Solid Signal YouTube channel is called "Why Are Televes Antennas So Hard to Assemble?" I made it myself about 5 years ago. And the truth is, they are a little bit hard to do. I've put together a lot of antennas in my time, and honestly, it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to do some of these larger Televes antennas. Well, the folks at Televes must have taken that kind of seriously, because their next generation antenna, the Ellipse Mix, promises a much easier experience. So here's what I decided to do. I got one, and I decided to record the entire assembly experience, completely blind. I've never put one of these together before, and what you're watching is from the moment I open the box until the time that it's done. And honestly, you can tell because there's a point where I kind of get things wrong and I have to backtrack. I'll narrate. I won't show you the entire video in real time, but I'll run a counter down at the corner so that you can see how much actual time has elapsed. Will I be able to do it as quickly as they say? They promise 10-15 minutes max, and I'm not sure I can do it. Let's find out.
Now I'm running this at 300% speed so that you don't get bored. First thing is, I just laid this thing down in an open space, covered it up with something blue so that you didn't have to look at something incredibly ugly, and I have at it with a box cutter. This is not super exciting, but it does take me a second to get through the box, well taped together from my friends at Solid Signal. Unpacking is pretty easy. There isn't a whole lot of extraneous stuff, but what I did notice is that there are some things banded together. I take a second, take a quick look at the instructions and decide to ignore them and start to unband everything. I have to say this was probably the hardest part of the entire thing, just getting everything unbanded. Maybe next time I will use a little bit sharper box cutter. But okay, get everything cut apart, and one more quick look at the instructions. Let's see if I manage to figure out what's going on. After about 15 seconds of reading the instructions, I decided to just kind of wing it. This is the part that connects to the back. This is where the VHF reflectors go, and it connects to the back with a wing nut. Matter of fact, this whole thing goes together with wing nuts, which is really nice compared to having to use a wrench. It takes a second to twist everything on, and I'm now at about 5 minutes for the total install. I decided to install the UHF reflectors, and I actually am installing them, as you can see here, on the VHF reflector part, which I'm going to have to go back and undo a little bit later. But hey, that's what I'm saying, is I actually did this in real time. I had no idea what I was doing when I was starting. Now putting on the directors. This takes a little bit of time and effort, kind of fit everything in, but once I do, it almost snaps together perfectly. And after a little bit more cajoling, I do get everything to snap nicely in place. You want to be careful because this stuff is aluminum, it's light, it will bend. But just kind of make sure that you're being firm, but just not harsh with it. After a little more time spent looking at the directions, I decided to put the antenna element on. I got to admit, this is something I've done before on other Televes antennas, so I know what I'm doing. But it's around this point that I realize I've got the UHF reflectors where the VHF reflectors need to go. I take those off and I put them on where they are supposed to go. It didn't really set me back that far, but I'm still, well under 10 minutes at this point. Put the VHF reflectors on. This is really the last bit of it. Get them all attached, and once I've got them all attached, that's honestly the end of the installation, and I was able to do this all in under 10 minutes. The Televes Ellipse Mix is a great antenna that goes together a lot faster and easier than previous versions of this antenna. It's just as powerful, and I will show you in a future video exactly what the test results were, and you can get it now at solidsignal.com.